Guys, today we're going to talk about using and mastering the patch function in Power Apps where it applies to Microsoft SQL Server. Okay. Now, we do have an ERD diagram here on the screen, so I'm going to make myself a little smaller so you can see the ERD diagram for the project that we have been working with the last few weeks on the Saturday morning live streams here. Okay, so just to sort of give you an idea of the size of the database so far. So this is meant to be an advanced example. I know a lot of you are looking for advanced examples. It's like, yeah, I already know the basics. Show me like a complex application. So this onboarding application is using SQL Server, and I would say the patch function itself is not terribly complex. I would say it is, we're going to talk about a scale from beginner to expert master, okay? What I would encourage anyone to do is make the transition from using edit form to using patch. And some people don't actually pick up and learn patch until they're more like an intermediate level after they've created their first one or two apps. That was actually the case for me when I was learning Power Apps. I'm like, okay, I got this form, I got this, it's super easy, we just do this and that. And then after a while, the patch was just really, really frustrating. And I was looking for other ways to doing it. And also I noticed that I just don't like the look and feel of a form. So let me show you let's see if I can minimize some of this stuff here. And it looks like I can't. So what I'm going to do here is go to my project. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to start off with, guys, is showing the patch statement. Okay. Now I've increased the size of my window here so you guys can see it all nice here. So here's the patch function. Okay. If you want to update a data source. Now it just happens to be in my Jumpstart kit and my application template that I do sell, but I also have a playlist on my YouTube channel that sort of steps you through how you could build your own. If you didn't want to buy mine, I wanted to provide that as a time savings. I know if I started out and I had the ability to buy a template that will save me like 30 to 50% of the ramp up of trying to get a project going. You never want to start from scratch, right? Anyway, in my Jumpstart kit and in any application that I that I build, I always have something like this where I patch the data source and I call the database table name screen use. And I'm just putting in some simple values, the name of the application, the name of the screen with a timestamp. There's a separate field for the screen name. There's the app version, the user's email. So if you have a little database, a database table like this, you can later on answer a lot of questions about how your application is being used. So, for example, I've worked at more than several places in the past 20 plus years, but at least 2 or 3 places that I worked at, I was asked, "Hey, who uses your app? Who's used your app in the last 90 days? Give me a user list. Give me there's all kinds of questions that you can answer. If somebody, you put your application out there, and there could be various reasons for this, but if somebody tells you, hey, there's a, hey, when can we start using the app? And you say, okay, have you spent any time testing it? As a developer, as an app creator, you should test your own application as much as you can. But there becomes a point where there's diminishing returns in testing your own app because users and testers will use your app in a way that you didn't foresee. And that's where the bugs are at, because as you're testing your own app, you're like, okay, a rational, sane, intelligent person will do this. They'll put a first name in the first name, a last name in the last name, and they'll do this and they'll hit the button, But testers and users, once you put it out there, man, they're going to find all kinds of bugs. So you might ask, like, hey, test it for a week, just I don't know, at least 10 minutes or 30 minutes a day for a week and just try to enter some data and poke around and do things. And they say, yep, we've tested it. Go ahead and turn it on. And you go out there and you can see how your application is being used. Okay. How is your application being used here? Okay. So you've got, you've got pretty much a record for each time a user goes to a screen. If you use my application template, okay, and you've wired it up to a database. And you can see how long they've tested it. You can see the screens that they went to. You can see the screens that they didn't go to. If you write yourself a little report, so there's all kinds of good stuff that comes out of this. So something like this, a feature that I could use in any application, I build it right into my application template, just like this. And go over the chat, make sure I'm keeping up with everything as you guys are coming out. I like to interact with you guys live. Mike, good morning, Mike. And Rick, good to see you here. And we got Keith, yeah, from Kentucky. Okay. So by the way, little trivia note. I was actually, I grew up in Evansville, Indiana. How about that? So not too far away from Kentucky. So anyway, and Amber, I do see you over here. Amber, if you do your video, I'll bring you on if you want to be a panelist in here. And if you're able to, Amber, if you don't mind, could you show your video and just come on for like 30 seconds? Because you sent me a link to something that I'd sort of like to share with the world. If you're up for that. If you're not up for that, then that's completely fine as well. Okay. But it's good seeing you, Amber, here. All right. So this is one of my secrets, one of the pieces of my my secret sauce, you know. Okay, so there's somebody here from Noblesville. Okay, very cool. Yeah, I'm just a Miss guy that grew up in the cornfields. All right, and then let's see here. I try to say people's names as well as I can, but I'm not good at pronouncing names I haven't seen before. But Nayakno, hopefully I pronounced that right. Great tutorial as always from Edmund AB. Okay, very cool. Thanks for the kind words. I would probably have to do a search on Google Maps to find out where in the world that is, and maybe AB is, that's not Alabama, is it? But it's so great to interact with you guys here live. This is great. Okay, so let's show you some more examples of using Patch. Okay. So today's, I want to really emphasize the use of Patch in this application that we've been working on together, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to design mode, okay? And then I'm going to click on this button, and inside my save buttons, I don't have any type of submit form functions, right? So what I do have here is a Patch function. Maybe I can situate myself here. And so if I say let me take a look here. One thing just real quick. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, and yeah, so Amber says, please, I am facing a problem in the Patch function relating to table relationships, in other words. Okay, very good. Now, so anything regarding Patch and SQL Server, guys, if you have questions about the relation of those two things, the combination of those two things, or maybe one or the other, please put the questions in the comments, and I will try to accommodate you and answer those questions. Okay. So AB is Alberta, and it's in Canada. Very cool. I got a lot of friends up in Canada. And Rosa, good morning to you. All right. So here's this patch statement. Now, what I showed you before when I did the screen use, I think the most complicated thing, and the patch is not complicated, okay? But the most complicated thing about the patch that took me a little bit to sort of go over is the second parameter of the patch, okay? Now, if you're working with a function and you want to know what are the types of things that you can, the parameters you need to pass in, right? Yeah. So, hey, Amber. So, yeah, you were saying patch function leading to the table. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So, one of the things, guys, that I help out, I invite all my accelerator students to come on here as a live panelist. So if they get a video, I'll sort of bring them on. So, Amber, definitely want to get an example here that you pointed out. But one thing I wanted to say is, with the accelerator students, I actually help them if they want to become a freelancer, sort of give them advice about starting freelancing and perhaps even providing paid work, because I'm teaching people and I know that they've been taught right or the Darren way, you know. And so I really like to encourage my accelerator students get themselves out there, go out on Fiverr, go out on Upwork. And Amber, if you don't mind, I'd just sort of like to plug your gig that you have here, if that's okay with you.
Yes,
So here's the link. So guys, if you need some Power Apps work done, I'm gonna put the link here in the chat. Okay. So it is. Let me actually bring up my show notes. All right. So here is Amber's. Well, I guess it should be capitalized. Okay. So that is, if you go to fiverr.com/MANSOORIM, IAMR. Okay. So check that out. And so look at this. Okay. So starting at $45, that seems like very reasonably priced, Amber. So so this has a lot of different applications here, guys. So if you guys need some advice on being a freelancer, and you just put it in the chat and we'll discuss that for a few minutes, but eventually we'll get back to the patch and the SQL Server here momentarily. But I just wanted to open it up to you guys and show you, what you can do with Fiverr. You can put a gig out here and you can check out someone's gig. Okay. And let's see here. Okay, so Amber has, and I did recommend him, like, hey, you need to put screenshots of your work out there. Okay, so that's what he's done. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see more of this. Yeah, this app looks nice. I like it. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, and this would apply to Amber or anyone trying to do what Amber's doing. Being a freelancer on Fiverr. Okay, so. And I'm just keeping an eye on the comments here. All right. So what I would recommend to someone who has a profile like this is it's good that you included your work, but what you notice is the thumbnails that are used in Fiverr are landscape oriented. So for portfolio, especially the very first image, it doesn't matter so much on these others, but the very first one, if I go out here to Fiverr and I do a search for Power Apps, okay, let's see what comes up. Okay, you see all these stuff? Oh, I don't know who that guy is. That guy looks weird. I'll bring this up just to show you examples of what I have for mine. Okay. So look at all these. So it's all landscape oriented, right? Not portrait. So if you provide a portrait type of thumbnail, they're only looking at a sliver, and they're looking at, look at all these. Look at the pagination down here. So I'll get us out of the way. Yeah. You see it's got 8 and more. There's a lot of Fiverr professionals out here, being freelancers. Okay. So what I would recommend, Amber, is that you either make a copy of this app and try to make it either responsive or make it as a tablet app and provide more stuff. Or, you know, what would actually be a great thing for you to do is to combine all three of these thumbnails into one image. Okay. So they're actually checking out three different screens all in one thumbnail. So that would actually work out really well. If you wanted to use this as a portfolio, just take these three images. And by the way, if Amber, if you need help doing that in like a graphic program, let me know and we can jump on a Zoom call and we can do that together. Okay.
Definitely.
What's that?
Definitely.
Yeah. I definitely want to see you succeed here and get some work. So guys, check Amber out here. So for his basic gig, okay, your app requirements and needs. Okay, so he's providing a 45-minute Zoom meeting to discuss your app requirements, explore available options. That's great. Now, what I would recommend is you put this down to $5. Okay, even attorneys, lawyers who charge $250 an hour for their time, they will at least offer a free 30-minute or an hour consult, because if you sign on with them, that means, you know, thousands of dollars for them to handle your lawsuit case, you know. So I would put that down to $5. And let me go over to mine. And mine is, I'm in a different situation because I will build you custom Power Apps, and it says starting at $250 an hour. Okay, I am a Fiverr Pro, and I'm not allowed to price myself that cheaply. At least for the pro gig. So some of these, you see where it says pro here, that's something that probably took me 2.5 years to attain, of being active here on Fiverr, being a freelancer, you know. And by the way, Ellie, I do see you in the private chat. If you want to come on and hang out with us and talk with us, simply just show your video and I'll bring you on. If you don't want to, that's completely fine. Okay. So when I had this out here, what I did for my basic one is I had it for $5. Okay. And I'd get a lot of you know, orders like, hey, yeah, I'd like to talk to you about my project. All right, let's book a call here and let's talk. And then Fiverr messaged me. I'm like, hey, you're a pro. Nothing should be below, I think it was $100 or something like that. But even for a 60-minute consultation, if I'm really going to charge a reasonable price for my time, I actually bill at $250 an hour. And even at that rate, I still don't have enough time to lend out. So I just put it at $250. It was at $5. And so guys, if you need an app written, I would recommend checking out Amber. Now get this, guys. Let's say by any chance you're watching this video and you're not really interested in learning Power Apps, you're just intrigued by Power Apps, of how cool it is, how fast you can develop an app, and you don't want to learn it. You just want somebody to write it for you. You know, there's some of you that are going to be watching this either live or in a few months from now. Okay, now think about this. If you were to place an order with Amber, and with all these other people that you see out here, let me see if I can go back to, yeah, I'll just say perhaps, okay. You don't know these people. Now you might know me, okay, but you don't really know all these people, okay. I see Amber on the screen. He's a real person, okay. Keep this in mind. Amber's on my accelerator program, and if he is stuck, if he needs some guidance, if he needs some help, if he has a problem with really anything, quality or just trying to do something, I've committed to him for a full year to help him out. Okay, now think about that. So you the guy that's charging $250 an hour. So essentially what you're going to be getting if you work with Amber here is, in a way, you're sort of working with me. You're getting value from me because you know, he purchased my accelerator system. So he's not gonna fail. He's not gonna get stuck. You know, he's got me here as a resource. Now, Amber, I doubt you're gonna be stuck all that much, because I believe you come quite a ways. In fact, you were telling me the other day that you actually finished up your first project and a lot of things clicked into place. So guys, I would really personally recommend Ammer for this. So let's go look at the standard package. Getting started, build a basic intuitive edit screen for updating data. Okay, very good. And then we got Preem, crafting screens with smart logic. Okay, very good. Now, let me show you what I did. Most of the time, if somebody's looking for some freelance work and they start messaging you on a platform like Fiverr, what's going to happen is they're not just going to go out here, unless it's like a consult, $5 consult or something, or just like a consultation. Sometimes people do place orders without talking to you, but most of the time, they will send you a message. Okay, so let's say I'm interested in talking to Amber here, and there's contact me. Okay, so, well, I need to get a quote because I've got a 5-screen application, and he doesn't have a package for, okay, so here's 2. So if I need 5 screens, I'm going to have to order 2 or 3, okay? And there might be a situation where Amber might do a screen for you, maybe. It's between you and him, okay? That's really simple and easy. Let's say we just need a screen that has help information. You ever been in an app and say, hey, I need help, and you need to fill out a ticket, you need to call support. Let's say you just need a screen that has the support number on there, and that's it, and maybe just an image. You know, maybe Amber would do that particular screen for you for free if you purchase one of these packages, because literally it would only take them like 30 seconds to create that screen. Okay, I'm just throwing out examples. Okay, so what I do is I try to come up with an average. I will build you a custom app with Power Apps, and I think I'll open it up over here. Okay, so there's my consultation. Now the standard is getting started. Okay, now this is what's genius about what I did here for the standard. Are you ready for this, guys? For those of you who have access to my application template, I charge, let's just round it, I charge $500. It's $485 technically, okay? I take my application template and I spend about 2 hours making it look really good, really attractive for a particular organization. Okay, and then what I do is I ask them for their style guide. You guys know what a style guide is? Any medium to large size application, their marketing department will have a PDF somewhere. Sometimes you have to ask for it. And they're like, hey, if you're going to do anything with our organization, okay, if you're going to build us a website or build us an app, this is the logo that you need to use. It's like their logo. These are all the colors. These are the fonts. These are the type of images that we accept. A lot of companies have these, okay? So ask for the style guide. And that's what I do, okay? And they're like, style guide, what's that? I'm like, okay. Or they're a small organization. What I will do is I'll go to their website and I will look. I'm like, okay, is the website branded, you know? So if you go to the website, typically they're using their favorite colors. They got their logo there. They've got, you know, photos on, so you get a good feel for what they like as an organization. So I'll use that, or I'll just straight up ask them like, hey, are there any particular logos, fonts, colors, and all that type of stuff? So I take my Jumpstart kit that took me many hours, you know, over the course of months to build my Jumpstart kit. Okay, it's done though. Okay, if you've purchased my Jumpstart kit, it's done. That part's done. There's a menu. There's a header. It's got dynamic theming already built in. There's all kinds of features. I think there's like 12 different features that I would want in any app. Okay. And what I do is I sit down for an hour or two and customize it, and boom, I make $500. Okay. So what I'm telling them is like, listen, let's start off with the standard package and let me brand this for you, okay? And so really, you want me to build an application for you. The absolute minimum is going to be $500. And chances are they're going to want, you know, a lot more things than just, you know, the basic screens. You know, they need their business stuff in there, right? Over on Preem, I came up with this amount, okay? $800 maybe as an average, okay? So if you take an application, let's say it's got 20 screens, okay? I'd say 80% of those are fairly simple and might take just a few hours, okay? Maybe just an hour or two. I'll leave it at that. And then some more of the complex screens, I would price those and the time and cost estimate around. It really depends on the complexity because things can get really complex. Maybe $1,500 for that screen. But what I do is I put an average out there, and what they'll do is they'll contact me and say, "Hey, this is the app that I need built." Blah 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 blah. And at least they've got some. They know they're not going to get an app for $15. Okay. I'm not the cheapest. I'm probably the most expensive out on Fiverr, to be honest. But there are a lot of companies that need high quality, and they're willing. It's like worth it to them. Okay. So if you go out here, you don't know these people. Okay. Well, let's see here. I don't know. I almost want to pick a random one or something, I don't want anybody to be upset with me, but let me just click on a few of these. Okay, let's go into this one. This one's interesting because I'm not seeing any screenshots. Okay, so go in here. Okay, I will export Power Apps and Power Automate Developer. I will export Microsoft Power Apps. Okay, so that statement really doesn't make sense. But look at this. You get advice for $5. Okay. Standard app optimization troubleshooting, 60-minute session. Okay, so maybe you already have an app built and you just need somebody to help get it fixed. So by the way, in the accelerator program, you have an unlimited that type of help for the full year. The premium, okay, complete Canvas apps course. Okay, so he's selling a course here. He's selling troubleshooting here. And you got advice here. So this guy he won't even, just based on this gig, I would assume this guy doesn't actually provide any, like he won't build you an app from scratch, just based on what he's got here. So just sort of keep that in mind as you sort of word things. Now, what my question is, if I click on his profile, does he have other gigs? And he does, okay? So let's look at this one. Now you notice the 5-star review, and he has 7 reviews on that gig. On this one, he's got 4 reviews out of 5. Okay, so people who buy, they want to see a lot of good reviews. There should be a large quantity. Okay, so for this one, I've got 28 5-star reviews. And I've got 24 here. So these are the 2 main gigs. Okay. Let me see what else. So total, so this is interesting. 5 stars, 80 reviews. Now, does 28 plus 24 equals 80? I don't think so. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong on my math there. But so you can see all the reviews down here. Okay. And you can look at the reviews that have images associated with them. So you can see copies of my work, okay? Darren is just the best, very humble. I'm very humble while reading this. An understanding person with amazing ability to explain things, okay? So, Amber, as you do gigs, you always want to under-promise and over-deliver, okay? So what you want to do is, give them a conservative timeline and give them a conservative, like, yes, I can do what you're saying there. And then you throw in extra stuff. They're like, wow, I got that for no extra charge. Yeah, I threw in an extra screen for you. I thought you might need an extra screen that does whatever. This is what I do. This is what I've done to build my portfolio, okay, and build my reputation. Okay. And I hope that you guys feel that, see that in the stuff I do on YouTube, on any courses of mine that you've purchased. That is a core business value that I have as a person doing business and, with relationships. I think business is all about relationships, to be honest. So what I do is if you could read these things. So now imagine what I had to do to get, I didn't tell these people what to say. It's actually optional. And in fact, if I asked somebody to leave me a review, I think I could probably get in trouble from Fiverr, So just sort of keep that in mind. So if you can keep on the 5 stars, so if anybody, and when I deliver a project, I'm like, if you're unhappy for any reason, please say I need a revision and I want to fix whatever issue that you have. Okay. Because let's say you deliver something like, ugh, all right, I guess. No. You did not under promise and over deliver there. Okay. When you under promise and over deliver, you get reviews like these. Okay. And if you do an okay, mediocre job, and they say, I guess I was expecting much more, but this guy doesn't get it, So, all right, I'll just take what he has. I'll go hire somebody else to finish it. You don't want that to happen. That guy or gal may give you a 3-star review if it's just okay. Okay. And that, it messes with your stats, obviously. So, guys, feel free to ask questions about anything like this. Doing Power Apps freelancing is a huge topic that I get asked about all the time, and people are always interested in. And a lot of my accelerator students sign on for the accelerator system to do just that. So I know a lot of you are interested in this. Okay, so that's why I'm taking so much time to do this. But I'm going to welcome you guys, Jeff, Amber. Do you have any questions about what I'm saying here? I'm looking at the chat.
Everything is well explanatory. So.
Very cool. Very cool. And I am going to, Jeff Dalton says, good morning, everyone. I hope all is well. Well, good morning to you. All right. We have Dave. I would agree with that. Plus, I would add a hamburger to the top. Suddenly, I'm hungry for a cheeseburger. Now, Dave might be talking about my app. The hamburger at the top. So, Dave, if you don't mind, clarify. Maybe it had to do with the onboarding application I was showing. Okay, let's see what else we have here. A year ago, it would have taken a full month. Now I develop apps in less than a day. You guys see that? Look at that statement from Dave. It's amazing. Power Apps is an awesome technology. As a .NET developer, even something simple could take me a few days. I do testing and gathering requirements and stuff, but on a medium-sized application, we're talking about weeks, if not months. And a large type of application, you're going to have a team of developers working on it if you want it done within a year. So look at this. A year ago, it would have taken me a full month. Even if it takes 1 month to do a project, in the terms of software development, okay, it's pretty good. But now he develops apps in less than a day. That's amazing. It's a huge testament to the technology that we're working with, guys. Okay. And some guy named Jeff says that's solid improvement. What's solid improvement?
I was responding to his going from a 1 month to a day and building.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. And so Dave says he's on track. This is awesome. Okay, so Dave, maybe you're talking about Amber's profile. I'm not sure. This is on me because I wasn't keeping up with the comments as they were being put out there. All right, so I'm not sure what your thoughts are on starting my own freelancing business in SharePoint, Power Up, Power Automate. By the way,
I responded to that, Darren, when I told him you actually have tutorials on that or labs set up in the accelerator program for that very thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So something I would add to that. If you go to YouTube, which you're currently on, right? Do a search for Darren Neese freelancing. And I do have a video out there on freelancing where I talk about a little bit of this stuff, but I've gone into a lot of depth here today, and I might cut that out, make it like a separate or like a sequel to that other video. So just FYI, that's out there. And so freelancing is a big chunk of the accelerator system of what I help people with. So my accelerator students and you guys, everybody that's watching this, okay, you probably fall into 3 or 4 different categories. Number one, you just want a Power Apps job, okay? You want to be an employee using Power Apps. Number two, you just want to use Power Apps in your current position And I call those people the office heroes. Okay. So, you know, you're not necessarily looking for a different job. You just want to be Captain Awesome where you're at and sort of automate some stuff that's going to make you look awesome. Maybe it might give you a raise, or you might get a promotion or something, right? That's the second one. Number 3, freelancer. Okay. Number 4, some of my freelancer students, and it's more than just 2 or 3, that are wanting to sell software. They're wanting to sell their completed Power Apps applications. So for example, I'm building an onboarding application with you guys these last few weeks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to package it up and sell it. Okay. And not sure how much I would sell it for. If I was writing this onboarding application from scratch, somebody said, hey, I need a application in Power Apps done. And what I need, let me sort of move this around here. And they pretty much give me the requirements of this. It's like, oh yeah, I need it to do this and this. It needs to span tenants, and it needs to have questionnaires, and it needs to do all kinds of onboarding and blah, blah, blah. I would probably charge at least for something this size using SQL Server. And we're not even close to being halfway done with this application, guys. Okay. I probably charge $25,000 for this project. Okay. And if you're an accelerator student, you're going to get a copy of this whole thing. Just FYI. So Amber, what you could do as one of my accelerator students, you could go out here and create a gig. Okay. And look at this. I will teach you how to build a Power Apps ticketing system. Now it's already built. Okay. Somebody could get a ticketing system for $1,000. Okay. It's actually to teach. So they actually get the course. And if you purchase the course, you actually get the project file and everything. Okay. But if somebody wanted me to build this from scratch, I would probably charge around $8,000. And that's something that I was saying as I was going through all the lessons. There's over 40 hours of instruction in this course, how to build a ticketing system. So I'm just trying to throw out as many ideas to sort of either inspire you guys or to give you insight into breaking into the freelancing. All right. So part of what I was going for here, I will provide comprehensive Power Apps and Flow. Okay. So let's look at this. What examples of his work does he have for that work? He's a screenshot. This is marketing stuff. And these logos are very dated. These are probably like 2 years old. Okay, that's the new Power Automate. But what does this tell us about the type of apps that he builds? Nothing. All this tells us is that he can go get a logo from Microsoft, maybe put it in Canvas and put some sprockets around it, or something. Maybe he found this image on Google Images. Okay. Okay. Finally, we get an example of a Power App. Okay. Well, I can tell you right now, this guy uses forms. Now, is this an application? Does this look like an application that you would pay thousands or even hundreds for? You know, the answer might be different for everybody. Me personally, I wouldn't, but I'm also a software developer and I do Power App stuff. So, so that is the only example I've seen so far. Okay. How I could teach somebody how to do. Now I'm not seeing all these other screens, but this literally could have been created by the app generator of Microsoft that could probably take like 5 minutes to create. It will generate the app. You go in and change a color here and make it little, different shades of blue or something. So if that's the type of work I'm going to get here, personalized guidance for $10. So he's not going to do it. He's just going to give you guidance. Okay. If I go up here, it says, I will provide comprehensive Power Apps consultation. So again, this guy is not offering to actually do work. Here's a 60-minute consultation for 40. And for 200, complete course. Okay. So again, I'm not really seeing, I mean, if this guy is selling courses, then what he should be providing as the thumbnail, if you look at mine, I provide videos. If you can provide a video where you introduce yourself and what you're doing, you got 60 seconds to do so. Okay, so I am going to reshare my window for a moment. Take that out, and I'm going to add my screen again. And what I'm going to do here, share that, also share system audio. And when you share your system audio, you might have some browser in the background that might make some noise. So let me know if you, Amber and Jeff, do you guys hear anything right now, like any YouTube videos playing or anything?
No.
Hopefully not. Okay, very cool. All right, so let me show you what I've got here. Okay, so this is what I do for mine. Okay, well, I just clicked on it and took me here. Okay, so if I click on this first thing.
You need an application written in Microsoft Power Apps. You need it to fit within your budget, and you need it as soon as possible. Hi, I'm Darren Neese. I'd like to see how I can help you, your organization, and your project's outcome. I have well over 20 years of experience in software development in the information technology industry. I've written desktop apps, web apps, database applications. I hold many Microsoft certifications. I'm a published author. I've taught at community colleges, technical education centers, and I also run a YouTube channel where I teach others how to successfully write Power Apps applications. I have many examples of my work. I have videos of them posted here on my profile, so definitely check those out. If you'd like to see more samples of my work, message me and I'll send some more to you. If you're ready to place an order, be sure to message me first. I want to make sure I give you a custom order that's right for your needs. Thank you for considering me for the work you need. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Okay, there you go. So that little video was 55 seconds, and it needs to be, I think the amount of time is 70 seconds. Just want to make sure I'm keeping up with everything going on in chat here. So I would recommend a video for a profile here. Okay, how many people have videos? Okay, I'm going to refresh this page. Okay, and we're going to look for videos. See, it's got a little play button there. I don't see any play buttons anywhere. Okay, now on these, you got this little arrow that comes up. Okay, whatever. Oh, I wasn't meaning on clicking on his profile. Here's somebody with a video. Let's see what they do here. Okay, so I'm gonna click on it, and let's look at another example. Let's critique this. I'm not trying to. So first of all, so you guys know me, I'm here on YouTube, so I've got a lot of experience creating videos. Okay, now you don't have to be someone like me. You could just use a program like Loom, which is free, loom.com, to record your screen and to be able to talk at the same time. It's actually a great tool. Okay, so the first thing is, if you're going to use music, you need to lower the volume of the music to maybe 20%, at the most, maybe 40%, because at some point you should be talking, you know. But if you're just blown away by some really loud music, there might be half the people that are really turned off by that, and they'll just get right. They won't even take the time to look at it because they've got hundreds of other people to look at. Okay, so this is your opportunity to make a first impression. And I would say within the first 3 seconds, I would have closed down that tab or whatever just to stop loud noise. And right then and there, I'd rather just go do work with somebody else. So a first impression, people do judge books by their cover, okay, unless they have more stuff to go on, okay. And you see it's only we're 7 seconds into 19 seconds. I'm not sure if there's going to be any value provided here. And to be honest, I think what they did, it just looks like, okay, this really is it. And it's over. What'd you say?
I said it's PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's very sanitized. I'm not sure I'm dealing with a person, or like what you could do on Fiverr is you go to Fiverr and say, hey, I want a gig intro video. Okay, let's see how much it would cost to do this. Maybe $20. I mean, there are various prices, of course, right? But what we could do is we could say, well, new sellers are a little thirsty. They'll do things for cheap because they need to build a portfolio. So important, guys. It was hard for me to get my first Fiverr gig until I did that first one. And If you read the review, go down all my reviews. The very first review I had, the guy wrote like a 2-paragraph review. I did the app for $99, $95, and it's my checklist inspection app. And after that order, the orders just started coming in. Your first order, you need to knock it out of the park. In fact, you almost need, what I would recommend doing is doing what I did. To this day, I'm still earning money on that app that I did. That's how important it is. Because what did I do? I uploaded it to YouTube and say, hey, here's an example app. And people want it when they learn about apps, like, okay, Power App sounds great, but give me an example of what you could build. And there's a lot of search results, SEO traffic coming in on that specific video. And people send me emails all the time, hey, can I have a copy of that? I'm like, well, it uses my template. So you buy my template, I'll send it to you for free, or you'll just get access to it. Okay. So you can go in here and so it looks like this person just hired somebody to do a video. Okay. And at first I was thinking about that to make something look really professional. No, it doesn't have to look that perfect. I know that I've got maybe a fancy camera. I've got a Nikon Z6, which is something that my wife is using for her marketing business. I'm like, hey, Nicole, that camera looks really nice I can use that as a webcam. And she wasn't using it every day. So then it sort of became my YouTube camera. But you could do this with your phone. Okay. You could do it with your webcam. I think if you don't have a nice camera, I think maybe a cell phone video it might be the best, to capture that. So this guy is actually, so he's a top rated, and I was the first one to get Fiverr Pro. Okay, let's go look at what he has. Okay, so he's got a theme going on. Okay, black background. He's the ninja. He's the Power Apps ninja. Okay, and so he's got a lot of reviews, and he's got videos. Look, he's very successful, and he has a video. Okay, what does this look like? Now, I've seen this one before because he's been out there for a while. Okay, let me just click on this. And here it is.
SharePoint is a complex framework, and constant changes by Microsoft, especially with their cloud offering, SharePoint Online, it can be quite confusing and painful. I'm a Microsoft certified professional with 14 years of experience, and I'll make sure that your confusions are gone and your project goals are met. I make no compromises with quality, timelines, and budget. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started and make this a pleasant experience.
Okay, so I've got a few things to say about this. So here's another example. Okay, so am I creating a video? Now, he may have hired somebody to do this. You can see there's a watermark in the lower right corner that says Adobe Spark. So maybe he used Adobe Spark just to do this. Your videos don't have to be complicated. They don't have to be fancy. But he's not even showing his face. I like to sort of show my face to, I don't know, give it a personal touch. Now, his profile photo is a real photo of him, okay? So it's not like he's trying to hide himself or anything here. But it's simple. He has consistent branding. He's sticking with this ninja type of thing, which is cool. But he pretty much says a lot of good things in here. He talks. You don't want to talk too much about yours, because people really don't care about you. They just care about what you can provide them, right? At least that's what I would think, right? So you need to give them enough information to think that they don't want to do business with somebody who's just starting out. Okay, well, talk about all the experience. Let's say you are starting out. Well, just mention things like, hey, I've been working with Power Apps. Maybe you feel like you're a beginner or an intermediate person, and maybe you've been working in Power Apps for 6 months. Throw that out there. I've been working with Power Apps for months, or 6 months, or however you want to word it. And you can say all the different things that you've done. You can take something little, and if you give a lot of details about that small thing, people want to do business with you. They want to hear all that. There's a little bit of sales here. You need to sell yourself. Okay.
I think you could even add in at that point too that you're doing continuing education.
I like that. Yeah. So I don't know that my accelerator system is all that well known in the field, but maybe in a year it might be like a big deal. Like, hey, I was trained by Darren as an accelerator. Oh, we're snagging you up right now. Maybe they're looking at 10 different applicants. You know, everybody's got their Microsoft certification. Certifications get you an interview. They don't get you the job, though. A portfolio gets you the. And so, if you are one of my accelerator students, your interfaces are going to look professional and hopefully world class. Okay, so top notch quality, and that will be expressed in your portfolio, your screenshots. Okay, and you know, and out of those 10 applicants, they're like, okay, well, show us what you've done, and you're using forms. And it's like, okay, well, he's using forms. Does he know how to use patch? You know, because there are times, even if you use forms, there's times when you need to use patch, like inline editing inside of a gallery. You can't put a form inside of a gallery. What are you talking about? So, yeah, so I guess what I would say here, I'm just looking at his profile. If I was looking for help with something, this would be one of the top guys I would be looking at, because if you think if somebody prices themselves at $5, oh, I'll take that. Well, think about this: you spend $5, and that's not what's more precious, $5. Are you sitting with somebody for an hour and wondering if they really know what they're talking about? You know, I feel like my time is very valuable, because I don't have a lot of it, and like, oh, I could get a deal for $5. I would rather spend $100 with somebody that it's obvious they've been around for a while, like this guy, okay, or maybe even this guy. So keep in mind, there's a lot of people that aren't doing videos, okay? You see what this guy says. I'm gonna click on him. There's not a lot of videos, but I want to show you good and maybe not so good examples.
Hi, my name is Tom Walsh. I'd like to help.
Okay, first of all, we play this. Okay, I'm like 2, maybe close to 3 seconds, and I'm wondering if my audio is working or if he uploaded a video with no audio, because I don't hear anything. You want to? Hi, I'm Amber, and blah 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 blah.
Hi, my name is Tom Walsh.
You know, you could have got out 2 sentences within that 3 seconds, and only allotted 70 seconds. I have a hard time getting it down within 70 seconds. And here people are posting videos that are only 36 seconds long, okay?
I'd like to help you bring your Power Apps idea to life. I've been a developer now for over 25 years.
And I can barely hear him. I got the volume turned up, right? And you guys can hear my audio. Does it seem like it's low video? I'm sorry, low audio?
In that time, I've developed everything
Maybe a
from
little bit.
web apps to mobile apps and desktop apps. The last few years, I've turned my talents towards Microsoft's Power Platform and have become very passionate about it. While working on the platform, I've written apps such as expense report apps, inventory apps, and
So he should be showing screenshots of these apps that he's talking about to the side of his head. You notice that's what I did in my video? Like, okay, you say you've done a lot of apps, you know, and so much in my career, people say, oh, I've done this and this and this. Oh, yeah, show me. I like to see what you've done. And they open it up and you're like, oh. You know what I mean? Were you saying, Jeff? Something, Jeff?
Yeah, I was saying there's
Yeah.
you know, Dave made a comment about that over here in the comment on YouTube about that.
Yeah, let me go back. I want to make sure I'm keep it up to date here. What I've noticed with the company that we work with is that they have scope creep. Everybody has got, it's a problem almost everywhere. Scope creep. They start off with wanting 2 or 3 things. They increase to be like, hey, can we also add these things in? Yes, as a freelancer on Fiverr, people looking for an amount and a timeline. Okay, is it going to be 500? Is it going to be 5,000? how much is it going to be? And then they're going to say, okay, I'm locked in on that price, right? They think like, okay, how long would it take you to do something like that? And then, I typically don't accept jobs that are shorter than 30 days. If you're just starting out, maybe you might want to make sure you have enough time and say, you want to extend it as much as you can. But if they're like, hey, I need this done in 2 weeks, and you need to make sure you have enough time to work on it enough to finish it, okay? But they're looking for fixed timeline and a fixed price. And then once you deliver anything, a screenshot or something, especially if they can click around and stuff, it's like, oh, well, let's say somebody says, yeah, I need an app for Canadians, and needs to do this and this. I'm like, okay, that might be, it's a simple app, maybe $1,500 or something, and you give it to them and they're like, nope, I need a revision request. Darren, I told you this is Canadians. They speak French and English, and by default, it needs to show French. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't speak French. So, and even though they do, well, now you think to yourself, okay, I need to build an app admin screen to allow people to provide English and French. And it just completely went from a very simple project to a fairly complicated one where there's different ways you can handle multilingual applications. I have a module on it in the accelerator because I've done just this. I've built an app for a very large client up in they do business up in Canada, and that's what they needed. And Power doesn't necessarily make it easy to build a multilingual application, in my opinion. There are some functions in there like language that will tell you what they're coming in as. If you're in the United States, it's going to say EN-US, I believe, or yeah. So potential clients are strangely, oddly, very vague in telling you what they need. And then once you finish it or start to show them progress, they become laser specific in their requirements after you've done it or after you show them something. Hey, I got the first screen done. Okay, whoa, the screen also needs to do this and this. And it's like, well, you just changed the requirements. Like that fixed price and everything doesn't apply to anything new. They're like, well, I told you that it needs to, like in that app, it's like, well, I told you it was for Canadians. Like, you don't know that they speak French up there? So then, then you're like, I don't know. They're sort of hanging it on like, I thought you had like, 10 or 20 years experience as a developer, or I thought you've been doing development for, 6 or 12 months. People have some unrealistic expectations. Okay. And that goes this scope creep.
So how do you deal with this kind of like clients?
Well,
not being corrections in their requirements will be vague, and they don't give you enough details about what they want.
Yeah.
So after that, you just make the search and do it, and then they will get users a specific thing themselves.
Yeah. So what you don't want to do, and what the temptation is to say, hey, over here in this, in the requirements, that wasn't there, or you specifically said this, or there was an email, or there was a document they gave you, like, your document says this, blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to do business with somebody like that. Okay. So you need, but it's completely reasonable for you to say that, right? I think so. But you have to, these are soft skills, guys. So, on this channel, I teach the technical skills of doing stuff in Power Apps and more of the and also the software development lifecycle and stuff. So I like to touch on even this, what I call soft skills, the social skills that sort of go into this. Is you always want to frame it or phrase it in a way that, listen, I'm going to try to accommodate you. Okay. So what I'll tell them, and I'll feel things out. And you could say, oh, to be honest, I didn't realize it needed to be multilingual. Could we just finish this app as is for the price and the timeline now, and then we'll do like a phase 2 of it where I'll add that feature on? Nobody's going to be mad at that. Yeah, you're asking them. They're like, no, you said, you were going to do this, and it was all, I only have $1,000 to do this. It's all that's in my budget, and I told you that, and blah, 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 blah. But yes, I told you it was for Canadians, and I thought any developer would know that. Okay, so I'm not saying that's reasonable for them to say that. Okay, but how would you handle that? Okay, I would, to be honest, I would try to accommodate them as much as I can. And if they're being unreasonable, I might actually say, listen, I'm going to try, I'm going to accommodate you, or I'm going to bend over backwards to help you with this. Okay. But just to let you know, I did not realize that Canadians spoke French, or that it was a requirement of the app at least. Okay. So yeah, I just make this assumption. Anybody contacts me that anything's going to be done in English, even if they're on the other side of the world and it's not their natural language, So that's something you think about as you're doing business worldwide. Is you might, and you see they're in a different country. Whenever you're working with somebody on Fiverr, I'll tell you the country they live in or that they're from. Okay, so you need to okay, I noticed that you're in Germany. Does this need to be in German? Okay, and then when it's oh yeah, or they're like, oh no, English is fine. This office, who knows? Maybe there's on the app to people in England who do speak English. So you're going to have some finesse as a freelancer. You're going to have some soft skills. It's like they need to have this overwhelming sense that you're on their side and you are there to support them and to come through for them and to knock their socks off. You are the hero. You are the rock star. Okay. That's the type of persona that I just like. If they work with you and they bring up things and you're like, that's a little difficult or that's a little complex, and they work with somebody else like me or someone like, okay, that's fine. It's like that tells them right there that either the guy named Darren doesn't really understand what they asked for, or he knows something that the first guy doesn't. And if you're working in an organization, there's a team of 5 Power Apps developers, and you're like, whoa, this is more complicated than what you guys think. And then like 2 or 3 of the others is like, if you say, that's at least going to take me 2 weeks, and on 3 of the other guys is like, I can do that in the afternoon, So that will sort of categorize you in that person's mind as like, okay, this guy, everything's complicated for him or whatever, So just be careful when you say, hey, that's really complicated. As the expertise goes up, you probably shouldn't hear that very often. What I will tell them is like, listen, that particular feature will require several steps that take time. I typically will not tell somebody, oh, that's a big ask. That's really complicated. That sort of lowers their esteem of you, their opinion of you. So scope creep is real. You almost deal with it in any application. What I would suggest as you're chatting with people in Fiverr chat is like, listen, anything outside these requirements we'll need to do a phase 2, okay? Because it's a fixed. Now, if you do work on Upwork, you would set an hourly amount, okay? And there's a little bit of pros and cons to each of way to do it, either Fiverr or Upwork, with an hourly amount, somebody does the scope creep, like, yes, more billable work, okay? But you're locked in at a certain hourly amount, okay? Now, what I like about Fiverr, somebody buys my base packages where I take my template and I take a template that's already done and I just make a few tweaks to it. And I'm like, okay, that portion is done. Okay. If I was up on Upwork, maybe, some customizing the templates will take me 2 hours, like I mentioned before. Some of them take me 30 minutes. Some of them take me longer than 2 hours. I'm not looking at the clock. I always produce quality. I do not compromise on quality whatsoever, even if I'm sort of losing my shirt over it, because that's your reputation. Just sort of keep them. Okay, so scope creep. Let's go into. So Jeff says an accelerator program Darren has labs. Absolutely. And Dave says, look into this. So by the way, Dave or anybody else watching this, let me provide information to make it easier on you to find things. Number one, you'll definitely want to join my free community that I've set up that I pay for. I pay school.com for a membership, but I offer membership into this community, the link at the very top of the screen, for free to you guys. Okay. And the reason why I did that, if you think about it, you're on YouTube and I provide code, let's say for patch, and you've got a question about it, or you've got an error and you say, I've got this isn't working. I'm like, oh, post a screenshot. Well, how are they going to do that in a YouTube comment? You know what I mean? So the school community, if you think of like a Facebook group, but like a lot better, that's sort of what it's like. Okay, there's no advertisement, there's no distractions, and family members posting memes and what. It's like, hey, you're there to learn some Power Apps and to interact with everybody that's trying to do the same thing or interact with me. And I've got, I actually provide my pretty much everything that I offer. You can attain attain it free. Okay, now it's not. Let me make sure I go to the right link here. Okay, so if we go here, where is that link here? So here's a screenshot. So this is what I mean by free. Okay, so there have been a lot of people who have spent a lot of good money on attaining these. The crash course is something that I've been offering for, I think, maybe 2 years now, and I've sold it very cheap, very reasonably priced. Okay, for like around, well, I think it started off at $19, and then I raised it to $27. But if you go in here and you start engaging the community, you introduce yourself, as people like a post or a comment that you do, you get a like, and you'll get to yellow belt very quickly. Okay, and then boom, you get the free crash course. Okay, and let me hide the comment on the screen so you guys can see this a little better. Okay, my jumpstart kit. Okay, I don't like to mention prices in videos because prices can fluctuate. Okay, so if somebody's watching this video from here, the price may have gone up on this. Now it's going to take a little while. It might take you a few months. Now, here's my ticketing course. Okay, that you can get at Brown Belt. Now it might take you some time to interact, but I wanted to offer, if somebody doesn't have money for something that I provide, I don't want to be. I actually care about you guys. It's not all driven by money. Okay, but I do have bills I need to pay. But if somebody's in there and is extremely active and responds to things and they provide value, or they try to help other people with their problems, I'm sorry, I'm going to reward those people. Okay, so if you've purchased any of these things, just realize you didn't have to sit out there for a long time and sort of work towards that. Now, if you have paid for these things and you go here and earn it, let's say in a year from now, you open up and I'm a black belt. Well, I already paid for the accelerator. So yeah, no big deal. No, that is a big deal. Guess what you can do? You can message me and say, hey, I've paid for your accelerator, but I just earned black belt. And I'm like, okay, would you like to gift that to anyone? Do you have a friend or member that would really benefit from my program? And you tell me their email address and I'll add them in, and you just earn the accelerator for either a coworker, friend, family member, or you know, maybe you say, hey, just post up on YouTube, and the first person that responds, they can have it, you know. So I don't want to diminish the value of any of these things. So there is some work involved. So in that case, I really can't call it free. You know, you got to do a little work. But if you go in here, in no time, you're going to get access to the crash course here. What's included in the crash course? Well, I have a video for absolute beginners, which is good for a crash course, right? But that's not even the main thing. The main thing in the crash course are these two things: the 10 things you must know, which is everything that took me like 6 months to learn about Power Apps when I was first learning it. And you can learn these things in the matter of an afternoon. Okay. So you get all my lessons I learned for 6 months when I was learning it as a software developer. And you're getting it all in just a few videos there. Okay. And then here's an app in a day where I step through and show you how to build a simple ticketing system. Okay, it's not my full ticketing system course by any means, but this is something. If you've ever seen this Microsoft template for the service desk, what I do is I'm like, listen, let's rewrite this thing, because that's another. It was actually my first live stream. That video is so popular. People want to use this ticketing system, and what I do is I make the case that it doesn't work. And it's not designed all that well. And I'm not trying to diss the guy that wrote it and offered it to Microsoft. Maybe it was a Microsoft employee, I don't know. But this is a really old app, you know, and so things might have been different then, maybe more difficult or whatever. So anyway, and I show you how to build these things. I show you how to do the ERD diagram and how to plan it and everything. And that's all included in you could go out here, join this community, and we'll go find, I think we have, there's a new post, using patch instead of edit forms. Okay, maybe because this video is supposed to be on patch, maybe I'll go out here and actually answer it for him, Adam. But I have a video or a post where, you know what, I think it's actually the one that I brought up here. Okay. It should be introduce yourself. Okay. So if I say introduce, okay, right here, you go in here, introduce yourself. There's been a lot of people who have introduced themselves. Okay. And I will like every single post or comment that you guys put out here if I see it. Okay. So you're going to get that crash course probably within just a few minutes. As people are liking like your introduction, or you post a question. I mean, I don't like my own posts here. Maybe I did like my post there. I normally don't. Okay. So let me go back to, let's see, this one, and click on this. And then, so anyway, using patch instead of edit forms. So let's look at this. Long-time listener, first-time caller. That's very cool. I like to meet these people that have been following me for a long time. So, Adam, if you're watching, I appreciate that. I've been playing with the notion of patch functions instead of edit forms. Yes, very nice. But I've hit a snag when using a drop-down input. I was trying to gather the record data from a selected gallery item. Okay. Okay, so he's got a lot more details here that I probably want to read through. So I'll get back to that later. And what I've noticed is other people sort of jump in and like there was one. Yeah, this one. Well, let's introduce yourself to the group. But yeah, there's sometimes the other members jump in and answer or respond even before I have a chance to, you know. Okay, so let's get back to something here. I think so some of the comments on the freelancing stuff I definitely want to answer here. Okay, so yeah, scope creep. And then Jeff says an accelerator Darren has apps, absolutely. And then it had to do with the showcase that you had with the 3 separate screens. You suggested to add 3 screens. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I definitely recommend doing that. I think maybe Amer, he was suggesting that.
Darren, that was the clarification on the header there.
Yeah, so let's go find Amber here. Somewhere here. Okay. So maybe he liked the idea of having a hamburger here at the top, maybe. Maybe that's what he's talking about. So let's see here.
Now, I'm actually facing a problem in that application right now. I'm facing a bug because if you see the third slide,
The third screen?
yeah, this is the screen, and these are the details for the report. And the details is a collection. Now, when I'm attaching the collection, the details are not linked to that report in the lookup column. So that's what I'm facing.
Okay.
Yeah, they're getting entered into the data, into the details table, and it has a lookup column which is not identified the width. So when you hit save as a draft, it's not recognizing the width of which specific report the details belong to.
Okay.
Now I'm facing a bug.
You wanted to did you do this in your sandbox in the accelerator?
Yes.
Okay. So if you want me to take a look at it, what I want you to do is do a save as. So you're saving a separate copy of it and just put Darren at the end. Because if I go in to look at it, I don't want to lock you out of the app, right? So save me off a copy and then make me a co-owner of that app and let it send me the email address. I'll go in there and look at it. If you could post a little bit more information, maybe even a Loom video, like, hey, this is what's going on. This isn't showing up here, and a little bit of an explanation. So when I do look at it, I have more of an idea of what's going on or what you're trying to do, that type of thing. And I'll take a look at it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Dave said, I would love to learn this. Well, Dave, please, go to the community at least, okay, completely free. Let me share another overlay here. So that bar at the top of the screen just changed. It looks almost exactly the same, but the link changed. Okay, you go to tinyurl.com/Power Apps Accelerator, no spaces. That's a link. It should take you to a place where you can book a call. We'll get you some more information on that. And what I like to do is sort of like with Fiverr. Somebody's about to they want to place an order. Well, it's like, hey, let's talk a little bit first. I want to hear what you're trying to do, what level you're at, and see if it's the accelerator is a good fit for you, that type of thing. And then I've got some information I send, before the call, so you can get as much information as possible. So if you're interested in that, Dave, the link's at the very top of the screen right now. Okay, and I'd love to talk with you. So I've actually several of the accelerator students were a commenter in the live chat during a live stream, and they're just like really engaged and love what they're saying. It's like, I think I see Ellie over here in the private chat. Ellie, it was either you or I don't know. Maybe I'm not thinking, but it might be you that says, "Oh, I found my tribe," or somebody said, "I found my tribe," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I feel like." The accelerator system is like, I think maybe we're up to 35 students in the accelerator. It feels like a little tribe. I'm leading and okay. So Ellie says that was me. Okay, cool. Ellie, I'm so glad that you engaged with us and you could speak to how it's changed your Power Apps journey. There's a reason why I call it accelerator. Okay, so you guys are smart people. You can probably get to where you're trying to go with Power Apps, but do you want that to take 2 or 3 years? Or do you want to start reaching those goals within a few months? I mean, Amber, I know you took a little bit of time off and then came back and then really got engaged, right? And it's just been like a matter of a month, and you're like, doing your apps, you're having success.
I was on for 4 months, maybe 4 months. Yeah.
4 months total. Okay. and I commit to you for 12 months. So I put a big long time there, so nobody feels stressed. They have enough time. Let's say they only have 5 hours a week, so I want to give people enough time to work on their apps, go through the material, ask me questions, all that type of stuff. So,
and by the way, Darren, I have great news again. So the 4 months that I was off my second semester, after the results came out, I got an email from my college that I made it to the dean's list for spring semester.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty tough managing 8 courses in my final semester, and then making it to the dean's list was an achievement for me.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and that's the reason that I wasn't available on the accelerator for 4 months, because I was too busy. I was caught up with all the studies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had 2 or 3 accelerator students say, "Hey, listen, I'm in the hospital. Can I put the thing on, put my," because they're about the 12 months. I'm like, don't worry about it at all. If you need another 3 months because you're in the hospital for 3 months, like I was last year, yeah, no worries at all. I just say 12 months because there's a serious concern when people are looking at the accelerator. It's like, okay, well, how long does it take to get through it? I'm like, well, listen, you can go through it as fast as you want. I mean, how many hours do you want to spend? But I feel like at the end of 12 months, you're probably able to do everything that you want to do with Canvas Power Apps. In those 12 months, you should learn everything that I have to teach for Canvas Power Apps. So that's sort of like a guide, almost like a guide. It's not like, and actually my guarantee is as soon as you sign up, we do an onboarding call and I find out what your goal is. I want to become a freelancer. Oh, I want to sell software as a service, whatever your goal. I want to find a job. I want to make an extra $10,000 a month being a freelancer. Okay. Whatever your goal is. My guarantee is if you don't reach that within 12 months, I'm going to work with you in perpetuity until you do. So there's no man left behind. I've bought coaching and mentoring packages, actually quite a few. And first of all, almost all of them only give me like 12 weeks, which is about 90 days, if I'm not mistaken. And I bought into one in November and December. In the United States, it's all about Christmas and meals with the family and all this stuff. And then I get COVID from all the family coming over for Christmas. And then that knocked me out for a good 2 or 3 weeks. And I did get through that program. And then they cut me off and kicked me out of the Facebook group and everything at the end. And I'm like, I really didn't, use up a lot of your coaching. I didn't have, and like, sorry, it's over, I think I spent around $6,000 for that program, So that was a huge, that hurt me bad. I'm like, oh, I thought, so there's a lot of, I believe in treating others the way that you would want to be treated. Okay. At least I try my very best. Okay. And I believe that's a good foundation to base a business on and business relationships and everything. So that's actually what came up with the 12 months is that, first of all, I don't, the accelerator is a one-time payment, and so I have a job to do, which is to deliver results. You're not buying a bunch of videos, or you're just not buying some time with Darren. No, you're paying for a result. Amber, your result is to become the freelancer that you want to be, or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yes.
And as long as you don't ghost me, I feel like that's on me, so you don't have to feel like, oh, I don't know if I can or not. No, that's my job. If I provide a module, some training, and you just don't get it, well, that's on me. I didn't teach it right. Okay. Because if you don't get it, if I'm teaching 20 people, if you don't get it, chances are there's probably 3 other people that are in the same boat as you who aren't speaking up, and they just have this feeling, oh, I'm getting left behind or whatever. That's why if you guys see Rick around here, I hired Rick to because as time goes on, I'm going to have more than just 30, 35 students. And as that grows, I need to hire more staff to make sure everybody's taken care of, so that the quality doesn't diminish as more people come on. Because I still want to feel like a tribe, you know. And so anyway, Ellie said,
And it's like our new Power Apps army.
yeah.
Yeah, I like when Kurt mentioned that. He was like mini Power Apps army.
Yeah, I like it too. And actually, I'm going to release a video probably here pretty soon. I was meaning to do it this last week, pretty much telling people like, guys, I don't have time to do. So a lot of people message me over Fiverr like, hey, I got this app. Hey, I got this app. And I turn down a lot of work because I just don't have the time, you know? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my stance on that and say, listen, I manage an army of Power Apps, famous Power Apps developers. And so bring on all the work, okay? And I'll get solid requirements and I'll sort of flesh it out. And then I'll post it in the accelerator school and say, okay, guys, this is the project. So, and it could be a large project. And let's say 3 of you say, yeah, I've got the time to do it. And it sounds like an exciting project. I want in, okay? But let's say 2 other people did the same thing. And like, oh, who's Darren going to choose? Well, if it's a large application, you know, we could break it up in a certain way, you know. Maybe you take on all the Power Automate flows that the application needs. Somebody I might have design it. And then after it's all designed and the things are all put into place. So I want to capitalize on each of your strengths. So Amber, if you have 4 years experience in Power Automate and you've created 1,000 different flows, you know, you will always be the person I think of first if anybody needs a Power Automate flow, you know. And it's just a matter of identifying what people really excel at, okay, and bringing the best. And so it could be like a group effort, okay. If it's a small app, then probably just one person. But so that is my long-term goal, is to eventually hand all you accelerator students paid freelance, I'm not asking you to do work for free, paid freelance gigs on a silver platter. That's my goal. And what I need to do is build up like a little bit more of a marketing front to actually pull in consistent leads to provide my army of Power Apps developers good stuff to do, and at different levels too. So a request comes in, hey, on-screen app, I just need people to type something in these 3 check boxes, hit the send button, and it emails those 3 values into an email and sends it off to somebody specific. I literally have somebody on Fiverr that has come back to me probably 5 or 8 times or more, and I've been working with them for over a year. Okay, and he keeps coming back. Okay, here's another one-screen application, and just code it. He does all the UI. He's just like, put the code in the save button, you know. And so for those things that might just take me an hour, I would say, okay, $250, or if it's something that looks like more like 2 hours, I'll say, okay, $500, and he accepts every single offer I send him, and he's really easy to work with and stuff. And so if some of those come in like that, and let's say Amber, like Darren, you said you've been in the program for 4 months, which I wouldn't expect you to be a beginner at that point. Hopefully after that first month, you don't call yourself a beginner anymore. You've already written your first app, you know what I mean? But I could provide something like that to somebody that's just been in the accelerator for 2 weeks. And then I'll go back to the client and say, listen, I've got my team working on it, and let's put a deadline in 1 month. And as long as they're okay with that, and let's say you as a beginner, you finish it in 3 days, okay? That's an example of under promising and over delivering, okay? And maybe I see Amber, let's say you're a beginner. You're not Amber, you're somebody that just came in 2 weeks ago, and like, like a simple app to do, I need ideas. And like, okay, well, here's a paid gig, okay? and I want you to do it. And I don't know how long it's going to take you, but if I ever outsource any work to somebody else, I have to be 100% ready to completely do it myself if what is delivered isn't right. Now, if you're an accelerator student, I'm like, hey, you need to try again, or hey, you need to make this look a lot better, or hey, you need to I'll give you feedback. You just go and do it, and maybe it just takes you 2 weeks. Now, I told the client 4 weeks, and then if I'm overseeing that person's accelerator, I don't need to do anything extra to it. Now, I have used I did outsource somebody on the other side of the world to do an app I didn't have time to do. He was an accelerator. This is before the accelerator system even began. Okay. And he was fairly cheap, and he showed me examples of what he did. And then he did the app, and it was okay. It's not something I could have delivered to a client because I don't deliver just okay work. And he didn't create app admin screens. That was like a no-brainer. Yeah, I need an app admin screen to do something, right? So I feel like I almost had to redo like 80% of it. He put everything on one screen. So the great thing about, I don't think this work any other way than the way I'm planning it. Okay, I have an army of PowerApps developers that I've trained, and they've learned, and they're looking to me for guidance and for me to teach them the right way. Any seasoned professional thinks their way is the right way. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it that way, right? So that's why I say quotes. And so
personally, I felt that the ways that you teach,
uh-huh.
The practices, I should say, the PowerApps best practices, the way you teach it, it's fabulous, because I've watched a lot of PowerApps videos before I came across your video, and gosh, they were just like confusing. Like your practices, the way you teach it, it's over the roof. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I'll appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. I think some of that comes from, I've got a lot of experience in software development, so I know to do things early in a project that are going to save me a lot of time later on, or as Kurt would say, don't paint yourself into a corner. Don't code yourself into a corner. Yeah, and then so some of you may not know this, but I used to teach Microsoft classes as a Microsoft certified trainer, so I do have some background in it. But I feel like if you guys ever heard of or subscribe to the school of thought of the Myers-Briggs, so I'm an INFP, and I've read that personality type. The personality type comes up when I took the test. It says an INFP has almost a superpower to take complex topics and make them simple, or to break them down in a certain way. And not only do I feel like it's a superpower of me, but Kurt definitely has that superpower as well. So I appreciate that feedback. That actually means a lot. And let me, I definitely want to keep up with these. Okay, Jeff is an ENTJ. Okay, whenever I see an NT in the middle, I know that person's smart. Commander. Okay. Yeah, I've heard the ENTJs are great as executives as well. So sometimes that's called the executive personality type, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah. When I studied it talked about the being really good with work and business and whatnot, but the weakness is I'm not always great at the interpersonal stuff, and can come across too commanding or whatnot sometimes. And so when I read that, I was like, wow, that's really true. Like I couldn't believe that that it was actually on point from answering some questions,
Yeah, you'd be surprised when you take the test to find out what type, and you read the blurb about your type. Whoa. I
right.
a book years ago called Please Understand Me, and it's all about the Myers-Briggs types, and I really loved the book. And so not only I understood myself better, but it helped me understand others, people that I would have an issue with at work. Like, let's say an ENTJ was my boss, and ENTJs, and not necessarily about you, Jeff, but they have very little tolerance for inefficiencies. And somebody like me with ADD, you might see some inefficiency. You might not think that about what I do now, but maybe if I'm learning something new, it typically takes me longer to learn something new, because how my brain works, I need to understand it very deeply for me to learn the next concept.
Right.
So like in school, I would want to read more about what it is that they're bringing to light here, and read more stuff from different sources to like put together a more firm idea. And then my fellow classmates would be on chapter 3 or 4, and I'm still in chapter 1, just trying to. But I guess the upside to that, studies have shown that people that take longer at the beginning typically catch up to those people by the end, or whatever. But personality types are great to, if you always have some issues with their new relationships or long-term relationships, friends and family. I can sort of ask myself, is this person an introvert or an extrovert based on what I've learned about this person? Okay, so I know that. And it's not like I know 100%, because if I would have pegged you for a type, I would say, oh, Jeff's an introvert. He doesn't interrupt me.
Right.
An introvert, well, let's put it this way. You know what's going on inside of an extrovert's mind because it's coming out of their mouth. You don't know what's going on in an introvert because you haven't asked them. So there's different things, and I can sort of figure out. And then once I learn, I go read their profile type based on what my guesses are on the 4 different points, and then I'll read about it. Like, okay, this person treated me this way, not because it's personal, but because they're wired a certain way, and this one thing that I did bothered them or rubbed them the wrong way. And that tells me right there, it's not personal. If Darren wasn't here in this spot and somebody else was, and they did something similar, they would have reacted the same way. So it sort of helps me to sort of understand and get along with people better. So I have a question from Chris. How long did it take to deliver that ticketing system project? Well, Chris, I did it like how I'm doing the onboarding application I've been doing here. So I work on it, 1 or 2 hours a week. And there were 35 to 40 sessions for that. So if you break it down, I would say if I was working on it full time, it probably would have taken 1 week. Okay. Now keep in mind, there are some times where you get stuck on a project, not because you don't know something, but because it's like, okay, I'm on screen. They said they wanted this, but I'm working with this and it's not quite. And so you need clarification on something, and they take 2 days to respond to you. Okay. In that case, I wouldn't be able to deliver it in a week. Like, you need to be able to talk to somebody and you need to get a response back, hopefully within a few hours. And in today's connected world, typically you get that. But there's a lot of things that could affect that, but yeah, if somebody say, listen, I just, your computer and all your cloud accounts and everything were deleted or something, or you lost the source code, or I forgot to back something up and I lost my data. I'm like, okay, I need to rebuild that ticketing system. Okay. Then hopefully it would just take me 40 hours. Okay. So yeah, I'm against forms. Everything patching, very good. Showing your face is more personal. Absolutely. Yeah. And they actually say that within thumbnails, if you're creating thumbnails for YouTube. Psychologically, you're more inclined. So I've been trying to put my face on with looking right at the camera. So boom, eye contact. So you're looking at a bunch of thumbnails and you got somebody, big face looking at you, typically it gets your attention more, okay, or stands out more than all the others that aren't. So Dave says, starting out can be difficult to prove. You're right. Sometimes providing your credentials can help with the decision making. Yeah. But more importantly is what you can show them. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your portfolio is what seals the deal. And when I show somebody my portfolio, it's like, okay, when can you start? So that shows you how powerful a portfolio is. Okay. And Yeah, the credentials, the question, I want to answer the question is, does this guy know what he's talking about? And I tell you, well, I got 20 years experience as a software developer, been working with Power Apps for over 3 years. So you at least tell them enough so that they know that you're not a beginner and that you know what you're doing. And there's a saying is people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I can honestly say I care about if I'm doing business with you, that's a relationship that I care about. Okay. And I care about treating others the way that I would want to be treated. I think that's a great practice just for life in general. Right. And that sort of goes in the under promise, over deliver type of thing. But yeah, I definitely want to answer the question. Why should they listen to me? So that's actually what I say in my YouTube sort of commercial, like, hey, why should you subscribe? Okay, well this is why you should listen to me. I'm not some guy that just, this is a hobby or something. So as long as that question's answered, then I just shut up about myself and I say what it is I can do for you. Here are examples of what I've done for previous clients, so they can make the assumption, okay, I'm going to get the same quality of work with this guy. If you're on Fiverr or some place where it's driven by reviews, you need to do everything within your power to make sure that they are exceptionally happy. Okay. Now, some people are really difficult to work with. And what I do in those cases is that I try to work with them. I try to say certain things like, hey, that's additional. Like, I try to work with them a little bit. But if it's like they're just unreasonable and I can't, I will try everything I can to get them to like crazy happy. Now, there's some people that just cannot be satisfied. And at that point, you just do whatever you can. And that's all you can do. I mean, if something's outside your control, there's, why stress about something that you have no control over, right? But you do your best. And if you have one really bad review, like let's say a 1-star review, but if you got 5 of them out there, like that would tell somebody, it's like, okay, sometimes this guy doesn't treat his customers all that well, or drops the ball, or just is incompetent or something. Right. So Dave says Jeff has an echo. I don't hear an echo. Does anybody else hear an echo?
I didn't hear it the last time I spoke, but earlier we had one and Amber had it too. But I think the last couple times we've spoken, it seems to have faded out.
Very good. Okay. Okay, so we started off. These live streams are so weird sometimes. I'm like, okay, during the week, hopefully I'm doing this during the week. Okay, so what I'm doing, probably building an application. That's pretty much the big value that I try to provide on my YouTube channel. Like, hey, let's build a real app. Let's do it together, But I try to come up with a topic I'm definitely going to cover, because people need a title and a thumbnail to know if they're interested in watching it or not. I had no idea this was going to be all about freelancing, but this is something I've been working with Amber this week. And it's something that, I've already gone over the patch syntax, and really patch works the same as it would, SQL Server to SharePoint to Dataverse. It typically works mostly the same. Okay. But freelancing is such a popular topic that it seemed like it was good to really go into detail today with it. And I might actually change the title or something. But going back to this example, you can see just by providing a video, you're already separating yourself from the others. Now, let's say there's only 5 of you that provide a video introduction, and this guy isn't showing any screenshots of his stuff, and you do. I don't know. Like I'd have to reach out to this guy and say, hey, can you show me some of your work? And but if you provide it in the video, it's like, well, I already know this guy Ammer. He has screenshots and he's told me what I needed to know. So I'll start talking to him. You know. So at this point, I'm looking for any comments or questions about freelancing, Fiverr, anything like that. And if I don't see any questions or comments about it, then I'm going to go back to the onboarding application. So I'm going to put that to the side for now. Okay, so going back to the patch statement, the second parameter, so you notice this information up here, patch, source, record, update. Okay. Okay, very good. Now, in the previous example where I showed you guys the screen use, it was always an insert. Okay, and when I say insert, either an insert or an update, right? So an insert is you're creating a new record, a brand new record, okay? And an update is you're updating an existing record. So those are the two things that you're going to do with patch, okay? And so if you go to the screen, on visible on every screen, look at that. You have defaults, okay? That is what you provide as the second parameter for the patch function to say, hey, I want to insert a new record. This is a new record. It's not an existing record. Every time I patch to screen use, it's always a new record. Now, it's like a log file. I'm just adding more and more records to it. It's like historical information. Okay. However, most of the time you'll have a screen like this. And for this second one, you see I have defaults in here for a tenant. Well, I've got a Boolean variable here. This is a local variable, okay? And you can see here, I don't use that. I use update context, okay? And by the way, Kurt just had several videos that just talk about variables, global variables, local variables. And it was actually really, I've heard a lot of feedback from you guys in school in the accelerator, like, wow, that was awesome stuff. So you accelerator students, be sure to check that out. I almost want to show it off a little bit.
It's really informative to utilize and see how variables work.
Yeah.
You can join ideas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's get rid of that overlay there.
It's a next level perk of Power Apps.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, his practical exercises and labs, it's more on the basic side. But guys, he goes through it very thoroughly, and he does an awesome job. So as an accelerator, so even if you feel like you're an intermediate or advanced, check this stuff out. I mean, first of all, look at this guy's face. I mean, this, you can tell he's excited. Which really, that's why I loved him as an instructor when I first met him. And we have things indexed out here. So if you want to know, if you're up here and you're in the accelerator, and now this would apply to the free one as well, okay? Where you can always go up here to the top and say, you know, I need to do a local variable. Oh, look at this. Mastering variables in locals. Okay, well, what's this? Oh, it's in lab 2, locals. And he goes through it in depth here, 36 minutes there. Masking variables, rules on when to use globals versus locals. Okay. So yeah, this is good stuff. So I just want to make sure you accelerator students or future accelerator students definitely check that stuff out. I have 2 videos about variables here on YouTube. You can search for Darrenese variables, and you'll find them. They're relatively short, not as in depth as what Kurt did there. Okay, I just want to throw that in there. Okay, so based on a new record, this is a variable that's either true or false. Right here it says false. It's not a new record. Okay, so if that's false, it's going to go to this third one. So gallery.selected. Okay, so you need to provide the record Okay, so when I hit save, it's going to go over to this gallery and look at the one that was selected and use that as the record. Okay. When I start off with patch, sometimes I would, if this variable is true, then I have a patch function that uses defaults. And then the else, I would have a patch over here that used a record. Well, it just makes sense to use an if statement here to do it right there, so you don't have two different patches. Now, patch will return the record that was added or updated. Okay, so that's why I use an update context here. That okay. Some things around there. Okay, and then the third parameter. So the first parameter is the data source. Okay, what is it? Well, you go over here to data sources, and here's all your data sources. Pick one that you want to update. Okay, in this case, it was tenant. Okay, just name it off there. And if you go up here and you want to know what you can put into a function, just either add or remove a comma. Okay, in this case, I'm just providing 3 parameters, and the parameters are separated by commas. So add another comma, I'm going to have an error. Okay, but look what happened here: record update. Okay, so if I take that out, you notice it goes, I'm on the right side of the comma, which means I'm right here. Okay, it will tell you what you need to do there. So there's the data source. If you guys can, I don't know, it's pretty small. Let's move me and Jeff around here. So yeah, the source, the record, and then the update. The update you're providing in curly braces. When you see curly braces in Power Apps, think, oh, that's a record. You see curly braces. Oh, that's a record. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to say what column or field name, and then the value that we want to put in the database. And that is patch statement. Okay. Now, just in case, guys, you're new to my channel, and if you're interested in knowing more about patch, now I've said quite a bit about patch at the beginning, and of course now, what I want to do here is show you guys something that you will definitely be interested in. If I go to YouTube and I do a search for Darren Neese, okay, and this is an interesting video right here. You guys should watch that. Darren Neese, and then I'll say patch. This is one of my most popular videos here. And it's the top one. Stop using forms, use patch. Okay. So you click on this.
The patch function is one of the most important functions to master within Power Apps.
This is a 30-minute video without me going off on tangents and dealing with comments and everything. This is it's got what, 22,000 views over 7 months, which for my channel, that's a pretty good metric. Okay, so if you're really interested in patch, definitely check that video out. Sort of want to show you this guy or this video here because it's Amber. Now Amber had to go, but and when I play this video here,
it allows you to add an up.
You can still hear my audio, right, Jeff?
Yeah, but it's echoing.
It's what?
It's echoing.
Oh, that makes sense. It's picking up my mic. Okay, so check this out. I'm going to mute myself.
Update records within your data source.
Very good. So I just need to make sure, most people that do live streams, they got a headset and they have a microphone that would sort of keep that from doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute this, and this video I'm about to bring up is Amber's story. Okay. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to mute myself and play it. And as soon as it's done, I'm going to, of course, we'll be right back. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. Mute.
And I got stuck and I didn't know how to do it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. I don't understand anything. And I did not have anybody to talk Power Apps. And then I went on YouTube and then I found your videos. You gained my interest the way you were teaching it. And then little by little I started learning. And then after that, I remember that I texted you, hey, can you help me? Can you help make a patch video? I'm having trouble with that. And then you made a patch video. And then after that I came across, I started learning. I did the lab 1, and then I felt confident on myself. I'm like, now I can take projects. And then the first thing that came to my mind, I was like, I still need to complete the application that I was building like way back. So what about I go back and make the application again from the scratch? And now when I was doing it, I completed the application in 3 days. I was like, boom, everything. I was understanding everything. And I completed the application.
It's all easy, right? Because now you understand it.
It's all easy. And then I realized the way you taught me, I realized how many mistakes these guys were making while giving the instructions. When you're coding and when you're actually a beginner, and when you're a beginner, you just try to copy everything, type everything as it is, as they say. But now I realized why the code wasn't working, because these guys in the ERD, they gave a different name. And when they were giving the code, they had a different name for those columns and fields. And
that's great to hear. I appreciate that.
I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your experience there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darren and Kurt and everybody in the school environment. Like, it's a very supportive place, safe place for learning, and you don't get judged by your level of learning.
That's right. You should always compare yourself with yourself from yesterday. Are you making progress? Because if you ever compare yourself to somebody else, somebody else might, maybe they've been in the program or they've been a programmer for a few years. You can't compare your beginning with somebody else's middle or end. Otherwise, you're just going to be frustrated all the time. So always compare yourself with yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And definitely one more thing, your courses and your way of teaching did lower my learning curve 2x or 3x, I would say.
That's great. That's great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. That makes my day.
Darren, you're muted still.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here, Jeff. Can you imagine if I would probably be talking like for 5 minutes, and then I would just glance over the chat, and then somebody, oh, you're muted.
Right. And then Kurt would make a video.
Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to go back down to 100%. I'm going to hit Control-0. There's a little tip and trick. It'll sort of zoom in right in there. Just to show you guys the progress that we've made. There was some work that I did here on the app. I created, if you look at my channel, there's a little join button. So for a few dollars, you can, what I thought would be boring, like if you want to watch me work, all the boring stuff I do, let's say sometime in the week or something, I did some work on this to sort of clean things up. So you can see those videos. If you're an accelerator student, you have access to all that stuff. But what we did was we added a developer screen. Okay. So you can see here we have app admins, we have a developer screen. And if you look at our ERD diagram, okay, well, we needed CRUD screens. So the four operations that you have with a record or records within a database, a relational database, is the C is for create, R is for read, U is for update, and D is for delete. Those are the four operations. So for each of these things, this application needs to manage these things. So I needed screen. So here we have organizations. Okay. If I go back now, you can see I can manage tenants. Well, I also need to create a screen for environments and applications, and a way to manage how to associate users with each of those four things. Making sure I'm keeping up with all the comments here. Dave, is patching person or group columns in SQL the same as when you patched your SharePoint list? No, it is not the same. In fact, I don't even like doing the people picker. What I do, and I might use a combo box that looks at Office 365 to get at that information, because it's a little it's a little involved to patch a people picker back to a SharePoint list if you set up the column as a person or group, right? What I do in my applications is I just store the person's email address, or if it's a group, I would have something that would actually store the group name or something. And then if any additional information need to be used a lot, I would have a separate field, because when you have a complex type like a lookup column or a person thing, and then you need to filter, let's say by department. Okay. Well, if you have a complex type where you've got a filter function, you say filter this user list based on person lookup, and you have to say dot department. A lot of times where you have to use a dot and sort of fully qualify exactly what you're looking for, you'll get delegation warnings, which means if you go over the 500 or the 2000 record limit and you're trying to, and it's not delegable, then it's gonna come back right, you know. So I structure my database in a way that I know I'm not going to have any delegation issues at all. Okay. So in SQL Server data types, there's not a person type of field there. Okay. So again, no matter what data source I would use, I would probably just put in, store their email. And now Dataverse is actually a SQL Server underneath the scenes. It just has stuff bolted on top of it to make it easier to use, and has more features there for citizen developers. And they do have a person type, and it's a little easier to patch that. So hopefully there's, I see some comments about the echoing. Hopefully nobody's getting any echoing anymore. Sometimes if I have my speakers up too much and somebody else is talking, sometimes it'll come over my mic, which means I just need to turn down my speakers. So this is where the application sits. So next, and I'll probably do these the environments and the applications are what I'm going to do is when I did the tenants is I went in and I went into this organization screen and I just duplicated it. And after I duplicated it, I renamed it, and I just changed a few things. So the data source is set to look at tenant and not organizations, right? And then the patch, well, the patch will pretty much be the same, but instead of organization, I put tenant there and there. Okay. And all the fields are mostly the same. If you look at the ERD diagram, they all have is active, they all have an ID, they all have a name, they all have a lot of these things like notes. Okay. And the great thing about this type of screen that I'm using here, well, we have some more space. If one of these things has like 3 more fields, well, I've got some space to work with. And notes doesn't have to be so big. Okay. It could be more like this and have all kinds of other fields there if we need it. So what we've done is we've set up a nice little screen that can be duplicated, where you select what you want to edit on one side, and then you have the chance to actually edit the details on the right side. I like those type of screens. Okay, so Max, first time I'm able to catch your stream. Regards from Argentina. That's awesome. It's so great to hear from people in different parts of the world. What a time to be alive, guys. I mean, you subtract, 20 from the amount of years. Well, maybe more. I'm getting old. I mean, the internet was around back, but 30, which would probably that would put us around in the early 90s. I think in the mid 90s, like when. What was it called? Windows 95? Yeah. But I mean, if you look at the whole time span of history, where else in time could you talk to people all over the world, show your face and interact with people from all over the place. It's an amazing time to be alive, in my opinion. But so anyway, so yeah, very cool. So those would be the next steps to this application. Okay. And then after we do that, now, if you would like, I do have a website out here, and any notes that I take, go to powerplatformlinks.com. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to copy this link and show you guys so you don't have to spell it. And if you go into, let's say, Power Apps, sample projects, oh, look, here's an onboarding application. What's in here? Well, these are all the requirements for this application that we've created over time. Oh, here's your data. Okay. So if you want to get at that, the stuff is freely available. I'm trying to think of, okay, so here's SQL Server with Power Apps. And I embedded, this is the first video in this series where we started this onboarding application. And we spent a lot of time talking about SQL Server as a data source and the pros and cons to using it. It's my favorite data source to use. So now I do have one request for you guys that are watching, if you don't mind me asking something from you guys.
If you're getting anything helpful out of this, a comment or even a like really helps the channel, and lets people like you know this is good content. Much appreciated.
Now, I guess a big question here is, what video should you watch next, right? What video should, you've been here for what video should you watch next? That's a big question, right?
For some reason, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching. Guys, gotta hurry, click one of them. Otherwise, YouTube's going to autoplay some other video.